Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the electrifying showdown in the technological ring. These APUs will be tested in 3 rounds of gaming benchmarks, each round getting more demanding. In the left corner, weighing in at a nimble 4 cores and 8 threads, the underdog with the heart of a warrior. Give it up for the Intel i3-12100. And in the right corner, a powerhouse with 6 cores and 12 threads, the undisputed champion in the making. Make some noise for the mighty Ryzen 5 5600 Top G. Who will emerge victorious in this epic APU face-off?
Round 1.
Starting off round 1 with Rocket League, a not so demanding game that pretty much any PC can play nowadays, but it's a good place to start and just see where these PCs are at with no GPU. So both PCs have 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM, and Rocket League is running in 720p on the lowest settings possible. And it looks like both PCs are pretty much neck and neck right now. You see a very consistent FPS with the 5600G, but the Intel seems to be dropping just a little bit occasionally. It gets the occasional drop. Now, the Ryzen 5 5600G is really meant for gaming when the Intel is not as much. So this is a pretty good test to see if this Intel APU is even worth it, or if the Ryzen 5 5600G is worth the extra money. Let's find out by pushing each APU further in the next round.
Round 2.
Alright, we're turning it up a notch with GTA 5. Now, this is where we start to see a pretty big difference with more graphically demanding games. The Ryzen 5 5600 is just that much more powerful. You'll see in the transitions of scenes, the loading is smoother. We're consistently getting around 100 FPS, and this is 720p, lowest settings possible. You could probably even turn it up a little bit for that Ryzen CPU. The Intel is running it and it would be playable, but you'll probably experience some lag spikes. It's also important to note that this is just vanilla GTA 5. This is not modded or anything like that. So keep that in mind when shopping for PCs, that sometimes the mods and stuff you play might be more demanding. Now the flying portion will give us a better idea of how well it's going to load these chunks. The Ryzen is just knocking the Intel out of the water with almost a 40 frame difference. The 5600G is just a lot smoother experience, and you can really tell as you crank up the intensity of the games. Let's crank it up one more notch in this final round and see how far we can push these APUs.
Round 3.
Alright, before we get into this last round, let me just say, I know that this probably isn't playable for most people, but this is just a test. We just want to see how far we can push these APUs today. So in Call of Duty, you see that both are turned down all the way, and it looks like it. It does kind of look like a potato, but again, this is just a test. So surprisingly, the 12100 is running it, and in my opinion, it was pretty smooth most of the time. But the Ryzen is consistently keeping it above 30 frames and is much more playable and enjoyable option. Now you have to keep in mind that different Call of Duty games might give slightly different results depending on if you're playing Warzone, the campaign. It's hard to get all of those into this one video, but this is just going to give you a general idea of if it's even possible to run modern Call of Duty games with no GPU. This is really where the 5600G shines. The Intel APU was pretty much not built to do something like this, but I am surprised it's chugging along. As far as budget gaming goes, both options offer a surprisingly decent performance with no GPU. So this makes it more affordable and offers easy upgrade potential in the future. Now the price difference between these APUs is not even that much. Keep that in mind when you're shopping. That extra price might just be worth it for the increase of power. And as far as GPUs go, the highest that we would probably pair with these CPUs is the GTX 1660 Super. This would make it a solid gaming PC, and that GPU is not even that much. I think it's about $200 depending on where you look, maybe even cheaper. I think from these 3 rounds, we get a pretty good understanding of what these CPUs can do. Let's go ahead and end this and see the results. The results are in. The Intel i3 12100 averaged about 64 frames between all 3 games. Pretty impressive from the underdog. The Ryzen 5 5600G averaged about 83 frames, making it today's APU champion. When looking at budget gaming PCs, both are great options with easy upgrade potential. However, the AMD graphics are just that much stronger, giving it that price to performance edge. Comment down below what CPUs or GPUs you want to see fight in the ring next. Don't forget to subscribe to PC Bros, and thanks for watching today's exciting match.